Good evening, everyone. This is Dave Eldon. With me is Dalton Grimes, and we've got a special treat for you today.
Yes, we do. So, you may have heard that we are coming to the ultimate set in the Gatewatch story.
Thank goodness, because I heard a lot of people were getting tired of the Gatewatch.
For those of you that care, that's pretty cool. For those of you that don't, welcome to the newest set of Magic.
Are we gonna keep this as a spoiler-free zone? I think we probably no book or storyline spoilers out of respect for the people who haven't seen it yet.
I'm only on page 49 or so.
Okay.
So
no spoilers. So
yes.
if you want to watch, feel free to keep watching because we will not spoil any or anything from the other movie or the Game of Thrones or no spoiler zone here, with the exception of the card spoilers.
Yes.
Because we just got all of the cards. They're coming out tomorrow for purchase at midnight tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And right? That's right?
I think.
Yeah, the release date the pre-release was last week. So yeah. New set. You know what that means. New set digest is coming out. And so we've got some awesome questions from that, and hopefully they're interesting and stimulating and get everybody excited about the new set. So we're gonna start right out here. This is a really fun Magic card. There's lots of fun Magic cards.
Did you go to the pre-release, David?
I did not. I've notoriously poor luck for the pre-release.
So I did a two-headed giant with my friend Nick, and we started out. Our pool seemed okay. He was going on a blue-black control, and I started with like a Naya mid-range type of style.
Okay.
And we just got decimated. 0-2. I couldn't draw anything but lands the first game, couldn't draw any lands the second, and then we sort of retuned our decks, and we went 3-0 from there.
Okay.
It was pretty good. We rallied for 7th. That's because a lot of people dropped, but...
You went 3-0?
More prizes for us.
Yeah.
There was a point where we went 3-0.
Yeah. Just keep phrasing it. It's that positive mindset. Mm-hmm. So you know what two-headed giant reminds me a lot of?
Stupid interactions.
No, well, okay, yes and no, but no, it reminds me of Collected Company, which is a really fun Magic card. So we're gonna play the Collected Company. Awesome. And I'm a crazy cat lady.
Are you playing Collected Company or am I playing Collected Company?
For this purpose, it doesn't really matter.
Because one of these I like better than the other.
Which one would you like? Would you like?
I would prefer to be casting Collected Company.
Okay, you can be the crazy cat lady.
Sweet.
So you Coco into 2 Charmed Strays. How many +1/+1 counters does each one get?
Okay, so Charmed Strays are fun 1/1 lifelinking cat with a trigger that reads, when it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control named Charmed Stray.
Yes, based on the name, which is actually relatively unusual for Magic cards.
Yeah, so...
More of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon thing.
Kind of, but I don't know. I think that's the point. All the cats are just coming together, and it's a giant fur ball of fun. So when that trigger goes on the stack... So both of our creatures are going to enter, and when they enter, because it is an enter the battlefield ability, they're going to both trigger. When those triggers go to resolve, we're going to look and it's going to say, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control named Charmed Stray. The game will look and say, do you control another creature named Charmed Stray? In each of those questions, the answer is yes, there's one other creature named Charmed Stray. So they will each enter the battlefield with a single +1/+1 counter.
All right. So that was pretty straightforward, right? If you know how triggered abilities work, then like immediately after the Coco finishes resolving, the game puts those triggered abilities on the stack, and at that point they're both on the battlefield, so they both will have triggered. So they'll both get one. So here's the cool follow-up that I came up with. This is a card from the last set, so not a new one. It's Justiciar's Portal. So I am going to play the Justiciar's Portal, targeting one of the Charmed Strays in response to both of those triggered abilities. How many +1/+1 counters does each Charmed Stray end up with?
Oh, snap. So we're going to look, and we're going to see the game creates 2 triggers.
Yes.
So each one of those Charmed Strays is triggered that says put a +1/+1 counter on each other one.
Yes.
So in response to that, we're going to create a new Charmed Stray by blinking one of the first 2. So that one's going to exile, enter back, and its ability will trigger again. So now we have a total of 3 triggers on the stack saying +1/+1 counter on each other creature. So 2 of these have triggered themselves and will not put +1/+1 counters on themselves, but the other 2 triggers that exist will look and say, hey, this is a different creature named Charmed Stray. So we can put a +1/+1 counter on that. Doesn't matter that it's the same physical card. What's important is that the game sees it as a new object.
Yeah. So that's something I thought was really cool when I thought of this question. The Charmed Strays will, of course, not get counters from their own triggers, but by making one of the Charmed Strays leave the battlefield and come back to the battlefield, it's not its own trigger anymore. It's like some completely unrelated Charmed Stray trigger as far as the game is concerned.
So for the low price of 6 mana, you can get yourself 2 instant speed 3/3 life-linking cats.
Your mileage may vary because
Value.
you have to have them in the top of your deck, but
Yeah, and you can't have any number of them in a deck, so good luck.
You know, it's still pretty sweet if it happens. You know, like a more reasonable one would be like you play the Charm Stray and then you like Justiciar's Portal it in response to the trigger, and then you get a +1/+1 counter on it.
Yeah, that's 3
so that's
mana.
like reasonable. You know, but
Exactly.
you know that's for your Charm Stray deck, because obviously you're buffing
People
all
love
your
cat
other,
tribal.
Your other Charm Strays are all getting buffed at the
Yes.
same time.
So what's next?
Okay, well here's another one. I heard that Ugin was part of this set and played some role in the story. Again,
Yeah.
no spoilers, but you know, Ugin the Ineffable has showed up to this party. So for this question, let's say that we +1 on the Ugin and we exile the top card of our library face down.
Sure.
And look at it. And then like a few turns later, we still have Ugin out. But we have like 3 loyalty on it, for example, and we're trying to decide like, okay, you know, what should we do?
Is it time to get rid of Ugin so that we can destroy something, or is it worth it to us to maybe keep ticking up?
Yeah.
So I think I know what question you're trying to ask here.
What's that?
So we have exiled that card face down,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And we looked at it.
Uh-huh.
What if we don't remember?
Yeah.
So when this creature dies, when this spirit that it creates dies, leaves the battlefield.
Yeah.
You're going to return that exiled card to your hand, but
Yeah.
what was it? Can we look at it? And the answer is actually no. So if you were to say have maybe 2 of these 2/2s out, and you don't remember which one had what card under it.
Well, that one is a different, because you do have to associate each
Oh
one
yes,
with
you do.
with
Each one
card.
will have one, but if you say, oh well, this is the one on the left, I don't remember if that was the one that had, you know,
Yeah, I
fireball
want to
or
block
lightning
with the
bolt.
left one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So-
you're locked in. Each card is locked into.
Yes. Each one's locked into a spirit, but if you don't remember which one that is, and maybe you know that one of them has a creature under it and one of them has an instant that you can use in combat, if you don't remember which one has which, then unfortunately, you're just going to have to take a guess.
Yeah, you're SOL on that.
So the reason is Ugin exiles these cards face down. It allows you to look at it during the resolution of the ability so that you can know what it is. However, after that point, it does not state that you are able to look at the card further. So once you have finished resolving that ability, once you've finished creating that 2/2, that card is locked in face down. So friendly hint from your neighborhood judges.
Write it down.
Maybe write it down somewhere, or maybe mark it as like,
because you
this
can't
was the
look at it
number 1,
afterwards.
and this was the number 2.
Unlike most other things that have this type of ability, Ugin doesn't say you can just look at it again later. Like for example, with what's the card? Like the new one, the like you mill 3 of their cards and then you put 1 underneath the Nightveil Spectre clone. There's a card from the last set that did that. Yeah,
Thief of Sanity.
Yeah, there you go. So like with Thief of Sanity lets you look at it after the fact if you forget what it is. Ugin does not for some reason. He's ineffable. Okay.
So ineffable.
Here's a new one. This is actually really interesting. So we have a doubling season, right?
Oh, another Dave Eldon doubling season.
Oh yeah. Like who thought that this was not coming?
Yes. So when someone announced 36 Planeswalkers, and then the next person was like, "Oh my gosh, doubling season."
Yeah, you know what card works?
You had
really...
to know that David was like, "Oh."
You know what card works really good with doubling season? Is Ugin.
Is it Ugin?
Right? Because like when you do the +1 and you create the spirit token, you get 2 spirit tokens.
Ooh.
Right?
Seems like it.
You actually don't get to put +2 on Ugin because that's not an effect. Putting a counter on your Ugin, it's the cost So that's completely different, and doubling season doesn't give you an extra. But you do start with 8. You start with 8 with Ugin when you play it. So that's like some stuff that you know, we've all talked about this one before. We all know how the Ugin doubling season works. But this is interesting, right? Because like you get the 2 spirit tokens, right? Which one is the one that gives you the exiled card?
Yeah, so Ugin here doesn't state when this creature enters the battlefield, exile the top card of your library under it. That's not the case, and we've seen certain texts like that before. This is not one of those. So when we exile the top card of our library, it becomes linked to, normally it would become linked to the first creature, that 2/2 spirit. However, we have 2 now. And so in this case, David.
Yes?
What do we say? Is it like, does either of them trigger? Because
so I had hoped to be able to look up on my phone what the updated rule was, but unfortunately it doesn't look like my app has the updated CR in it. And the reason that we're looking at the updated CR is because this is a new one. This is completely new CR. So, well, I guess it's not completely new, but they did change the rules for specifically this situation. So the answer is that the triggered abilities controller chooses which one makes the card go back to your hand.
Okay. So each creature receives that triggered ability, or is the triggered ability assigned to both creatures? And then you just get to choose which time you want to put it back?
So specifically if both of them die at the same time, one of their deaths is going to cause the token to come back, or the card to come back. And that's you get to pick. But whichever one dies first is going to be the one that makes your card come back.
Okay.
Ordinarily.
So I can't, wait on that because maybe I have like an ensnaring bridge and I don't want a card in hand.
Because it says when that token leaves the battlefield, put the exiled card into your hand. And so that token, there's a triggered ability that's like with linked. That is a linked ability, so it's linked to both of them. So I think they should both cause it to return to your hand.
We'll keep you updated if things should.
Yeah, be sure to read the article
should
for
not
that
work
one.
That way.
I'll need to like actually read the actual new text of the rules, but that's what we got from the CR update article is what we just said. Awesome. So that's actually really interesting. I was really excited when I like saw that and thought of it. I was like, oh wait, how would this work if you and it's interesting.
All right,
because they actually had to come up with a new rule for it.
What do we have next?
All right.
And if that's the case, then I don't feel bad about not knowing which rule it was.
Oh well, that was like completely crazy. So okay, this is a new. Oh man.
Oh no.
Let's see if we can search this up.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Very nice autocog.
All right. So apostrophes are kind of weird in computer science. So when you try to look up cards that have apostrophes, sometimes you come up with some interesting. You have to look again. So this is Ugin's Conjurant. So let's say we have Ugin's Conjurant, and it is a 6/6.
Awesome.
Okay. So 6 +1 + 1 counters, obviously. Yep. Right. So we've got the Ugin Conjurant, and we're gonna play. Okay, they haven't even seen it yet. They don't know what card I was gonna search for.
Well, I told them.
Yeah. Obviously the question is we're gonna play Banefire with X = 5. What happens, right?
Okay.
So it's a 6/6. Remember the Ugin Conjurant.
Yep. So reading Banefire, if X is 5 or more, the spell can't be countered, and the damage cannot be prevented. So that's our key point here.
So that's actually really interesting because like if damage would be dealt to Ugin's Conjurant while it has a +1/+1 counter on it, then you prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters.
Yeah. So you're probably seeing the problem here.
Yeah.
Is if Banefire tells us that we can't prevent damage, and Ugin's Conjurant has a replacement effect that would prevent that damage and remove that many +1/+1 counters, we see an issue here. So we have a 6/6 Ugin's Conjurant. And so what's going to happen is, well, we're going to do as much as we can here. So Banefire is going to target Ugin's Conjurant. It's going to mark 5 damage on Ugin's Conjurant. Normally, that damage would be prevented. However, we can't. The damage can't be prevented. Magic specifically has a rule that says that if something tells you to do something, if something tells you that you can't or you don't do something, can't or don't trumps. So, in this case, can't be prevented is going to trump whatever Ugin says, or Ugin's Conjurant says. So we're going to have 5 damage marked on here. But we also have to finish doing as much of this replacement effect as we can. So we're going to see that 5 damage was marked on Ugin's Conjurant, and we're going to try to remove that many +1/+1 counters. Are we able to do so?
No, you only remove 1, right? With Ugin's Conjurant?
No. That many.
Oh, wow, that card sucks.
Yeah, it does. So we're going to do as much as we can. We are going to remove 5 +1/+1 counters from Ugin's Conjurant, which would turn it into a 1/1.
With 5 damage on it.
It has 5 damage marked on it. So as soon as we check state-based actions again, Ugin's Conjurant goes to the graveyard.
Yeah, that's pretty sad.
Yeah, it's really not a good card. Like,
yeah, I was hoping that it would be like one of those situations where they did have some cards back before that had it, and you only would remove 1 +1/+1 counter from it.
See, I could see it being decent and limited with something like a Nahiri or a First Strike ability, but just as an X mana XX, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as excited about that question as I was before. I'm gonna have to change the numbers, I guess.
Okay.
Well, no, like, right, because like the idea was you would remove 1 +1/+1 counter, so that's why it was a 6/6.
Yeah.
So like,
you could like make it 10/10.
yeah, well that's what we're gonna have to do. We're gonna have to like edit the numbers a little bit.
So there's your sneak peek for the new set digest.
Yeah.
Is you might notice that the numbers are a little bit different.
Yeah, well, I mean, like that makes sense. So, okay, what else we got? Do we have any other interesting
Hit me,
questions
dealer.
about this? Oh, yeah. So here's another card with like our friend the Ugin Conjurant.
Ooh.
Maybe you've never heard of this card before.
Possibly. We'll see.
So this is it. It's called Shield of the Realm.
Oh, that one. Of course I've heard of this.
Yeah, okay. So like we've got the Ugin Conjurant and the Shield of the Realm equipped to it, and we block a 2/2.
Okay.
What happens?
Sweet. So in this case, our Ugin's Conjurant has this new ability from... Does it get the ability, or does the shield have the ability?
So the shield has a prevention effect.
Okay.
So
our shield creates a placement effect for Ugin's Conjurant, and Ugin's Conjurant is going to create a replacement effect for Ugin's Conjurant. And so what have we learned in the past about replacement effects? Well, when 2 replacement effects occur simultaneously, or rather would want to occur simultaneously, it is up to the affected permanent's controller to determine which one will be applied first. So in this case, because they are both trying to prevent damage, because they are both trying to replace that same initial event, that same damage being marked on it, whoever owns that Ugin's Conjurant and whoever owns that shield, assuming it's the same player, will be the one. Yes, will be the one who determines whether they want to have the shield prevent 2 damage, or whether or not they would like to have 2 damage removed from, or 2 +1 counters removed from Ugin's Conjurant. Now,
it'd be pretty smart.
What would happen if I put my shield on your Ugin's Conjurant?
All right,
Then who decides?
In that case, both of those replacement, or rather prevention effects are applied to the same, not controlled by the same person, but the logic is still the same. The affected permanence controller is the person who gets to choose when 2 prevention or replacement effects are trying to apply at the same time. So the Ugin Conjurant player is always going to be the person who gets to make that choice.
Yep. So always important to remember is know those rules. I was hoping I could catch Dave off guard.
I mean, like, you can try, I suppose.
So we got Shield of the Realm down. And I do like the artwork on it. That's probably the only reason I actually
That's the
know
reason
what
why
it
we
is.
knew what the card was.
And possibly because I've gone through enough Dominaria bulk.
Okay.
Anyways.
So, okay, here's another one we had. This is Gideon Blackblade. So,
Okay.
So Gideon Blackblade has no commas in his name. Okay, great. Well, like, that's like another really annoying thing is like, some of the planeswalkers have the commas in some of them.
Yes.
So there he is. So we're gonna animate the Gideon, and then enemy player is gonna dismember it. So -5, -5.
Yep.
Okay. So here
That
is
works out.
yeah. So Gideon, unfortunately, that's something that can kill Gideon, unlike some of the other stuff.
Yeah, so on our turn, Gideon is a 4/4, indestructible, still a planeswalker, and we prevent all damage that would be dealt to him during our turn.
Yeah, so dismember, of course, -5,
Yep.
-5, not something that Gideon can fix. What about the Rising Populace, though?
Ooh. So, Rising Populace here. Whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Rising Populace.
Yeah.
So, when Gideon dies, which is he? Is he a creature? Is he a planeswalker? What does Rising Populace see?
Yeah.
So as Gideon leaves the battlefield, he is simultaneously a creature and a planeswalker. His ability grants him that.
Yes.
I believe it's Sarkhan that makes himself no longer a planeswalker in this set.
No, he still is a planeswalker, I think. What is it? Sarkhan the Masterless?
Sarkhan the Masterless, yes. There's probably a comment.
I'm certain that they would have. So, with Sarkhan, you
Till end of turn, each planeswalker you control becomes a 4/4 red dragon and gains
ooh,
flying.
and isn't a planeswalker anymore. Ah, that's interesting. yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, oh look, he doesn't have a comma.
Hey, how did we do that?
What is this game?
It's incredible.
All right, so because Gideon's ability specifies that he is still a planeswalker, he is simultaneously both.
Yes.
So Rising Populace is going to look and it's going to say, hey,
it's both.
Another creature die? Is the answer yes?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Did another planeswalker die? The answer is yes. But does it matter that it is both? And I believe that the answer is no.
Correct.
So just because it has both types does not mean it will trigger the Rising Populace twice.
Yeah, that is correct. So the reason for that is because the ability is templated whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies. Mm-hmm. So whenever something dies is the trigger event. Now only one thing died, so the ability only triggered one time. So if we were to... I'm trying to think how they would word it to make it so it would trigger twice. If there were two triggered abilities, like whenever a creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter, and whenever a planeswalker you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter. That would make it so that you would get two. If they were to make it so that whenever a permanent you control dies, if it's a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on Populace. If it's a planeswalker, put a +1/+1 counter. So like it would be really unnatural to make it so that you would get two +1/+1 counters.
Yeah, the important thing to remember is that the trigger event only occurs once, and that's one thing died.
Yeah, only one thing died.
Now,
so,
if multiple things go to the graveyard at the same time, then there will be multiple trigger events for Rising Populace.
Ooh, this is actually, I just looked at the next one.
Yeah? Dave's already excited. So, Rising Populace, I found to be a pretty good card in Limited.
Was it?
So, if you're
3 mana
for
a 2/2. Yeah, I think, actually, like, that effect...
It's underestimated.
That effect has been done before, but, like, without the or planeswalker part, and those creatures were always really good, because there's a lot of, like, creature triggers.
And I mean, in Sealed, you're opening 6 walkers, and you're already playing creatures, so...
So, like, and like, a lot of the planeswalkers are, like, playable, so, like, you'd be able to get them.
Ashiok real good?
Oh.
Ashiok real good.
The +2s are generally pretty good. Okay, so here's another planeswalker. His name is Jace. Not as good as another 4-mana Jace that I've seen in my day, but this is the one that's in standard. Yeah, we'll use him as a proxy for Cryptic Command for when I make the Modern Gauntlet up here. So we are going to activate the -8.
Sure.
And our library has, let's say, 3 cards in it.
Cool.
What happens?
So, is our Jace still on the battlefield?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Oh, very, very, very interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's actually a really good question. We'll answer the no version of that question afterwards.
So, fortunately for us, Jace's ability states draw 7 cards. Then, if your library has no cards in it, you win the game.
Yes.
So, if we only have 3 cards, when we draw our 4th card,
yes.
When we go to draw a 4th card, normally our game's going to say, hey, buddy, you can't do that. Now, fortunately, Jace has an ability that says if you draw a card while your library has no cards in it, you win the game instead.
So then you win.
Yeah, so at the resolution of this ability, we're winning the game. We're only drawing 3 cards, what a shame.
Unlucky.
But we will win the game there, which is sweet.
So the replacement effect from the static ability is what causes us to win the game. Mm-hmm. We are not going to attempt to draw cards number 5 through 7 because after the 4th draw, that 4th draw will be replaced by us winning the game, and then the game is over, so we don't have anything else after that. So what if we were to, just kill the planeswalker? What's an instant speed planeswalker kill?
It's an 8 loyalty, and we activate it.
Well, yeah, okay. I guess that could be part of it. Sure. Yeah. So it's at 8 loyalty, and then we activate it.
Yep.
So what happens in that case?
So, as this ability goes to resolve, we are going to draw 3 cards, assuming we still have our 3 in the library. And so we'll draw our 3, and as we go to draw a 4th, we look and we say, oh no.
Oh, we can't draw.
We can't do this.
Yeah.
So the rules of Magic tell us that if a player would draw from a library with no cards in it, they lose the game.
All right, that's not exactly what they say, and the difference is important in this case.
Yes. So, do you have the exact wording for me to use?
Yes. The exact wording is a state-based action, and the state-based action says a player who attempted to draw a card from a library with no cards in it since the last time state-based actions were performed loses the game.
Yes.
Which is very important because...
Don't you worry, I was going to get there. The way that Magic checks this to see did a player do this is through state-based actions.
Yes.
It's not a replacement effect.
Yes.
Winning or losing the game is only a replacement effect in certain abilities.
Like this one.
Like this one, yes. So in this case, we're going to draw our 3 cards, and then we're going to try to draw 4. And as we try to draw 4, the game's going to be like, whoa, hey there, you can't do that. You're going to lose the game.
There's no cards in your library.
The next time state-based actions are checked. However, we have to finish resolving this ability before those state-based actions are checked.
Yes.
So what are we going to do? We're going to go to the next part of the ability that says if your library has no cards in it, you win the game.
Yes.
So that ability is going to finish resolving. We are going to win the game. And then those state-based actions are going to be hanging out right there. Just very sad that they can't do anything.
So this is kind of risky because, like, for example, let's say your opponent has, like, Platinum Angel, right? So Platinum Angel says that you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. So let's say we -8 the Jace that has 8 loyalty counters on it.
Yep.
And so we'll draw our 7 cards, but we'll only be able to draw 3. And then when we draw the 4th card, nothing happens because we have an empty library, and the 5th card and the 6th card. And then we're going to try and win the game. And we can't because Platinum Angel says we can't win the game.
Sure.
And then the game is going to do some state-based actions, at which point we'll lose the game because we tried to draw a card from an empty library, which means we lose the game.
Your opponent has Ether Vial on 7.
Yeah.
Just in response to the ability flashes.
Well, what about this card? What about this card here?
Beautiful. Now I have a feeling that you have a very fun...
Well, like there's another card with a converted mana cost of 7.
Yeah. So Emergency Powers, also making a splash in certain formats. I don't know if it's actually making a splash.
Well, it's making a splash in this question because this is a really sweet question, I think.
So, what's our Emergency Powers going to say? Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards, exile Emergency Powers.
Right.
So, if you cast a spell during your main phase, you may put a permanent with CMC 7 or less from your hand on the battlefield. So, you could cast this theoretically during your own main phase with a Jace out.
Yeah.
And be able to put a Platinum Angel in. But if we're doing it during our opponent's turn, then we're not getting Platinum Angel?
Well, that would be like not during our main phase, so yeah.
I don't know if I'm understanding the question you're asking.
There's a couple of really sweet questions that involve Emergency Powers plus Jace. So like let's say like the first and most interesting one that I could come up with off the top of my head. We put the Jace into play with Emergency Powers, but our library only had like 4 cards in it. When we drew 7, what happens?
I'm sorry. May you please repeat that?
Right.
Work emergency.
So we play the Emergency Powers. When we draw 7, our library only has 4 cards in it.
Yep.
And then we put a Jace from our hand under the battlefield with the addendum.
That's pretty sweet. So we're going to see that the replacement effect, or not the replacement effect, the state-based action of us drawing cards from an empty library is going to go on to the state-based action stack.
Yeah.
That world. And then our Jace is going to come down, and Jace does say, if you draw a card from an empty library, you may
win the game instead.
Win the game.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, that would replace the effect of drawing the cards.
Yeah, Jace was not around when those cards were drawn, so he is not able to intervene in that case.
He doesn't change
have that
the
many
state-based
powers.
actions. Instead, he simply replaces it as a curse.
Powerful. Not. So, okay, here's another one. And I was like really, really excited when I thought of this question. Like, this is another really, really top-notch question. So let's say I and you both have the Jace out. And, like, I play emergency powers. And when, like, we go to draw our cards, we're both, like, control decks, right? So, like, let's say my library has 5 cards in it, and your library has 4 cards in it when we go to draw our 7 cards each. So, so what would happen in that situation here?
So, whose turn is emergency powers being cast on?
We'll say that I am playing emergency powers during my turn.
All right, so we both have
Does
a
that
Jace
matter?
out. How many cards? Your library is 3?
My library is 4,
and mine
and yours is 3.
Sweet. So each player shuffles their hand graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards.
Yeah.
Does not say who's drawing cards first.
Nope.
Nope. So is David drawing cards first? Am I drawing cards first?
Who knows?
Who knows? So we're going to shuffle our hands and our graveyards into our library, and then we're going to draw our cards.
Yes.
Now, I am not, the most versed judge here.
I already wrote the answer to this question, and I purposefully didn't put it up because, like, this is one of those questions that's, like, so sweet. And
You're
like
horrible.
the answer is like so interesting. I wanted to see if Dalton knew it, and like no real judge would probably know this one unless someone else like told it to him or they like researched it. I only knew the answer to this one because it's very similar to a question that I had in the No Mercy Rules challenge about 4 years ago. So that should give you like an idea of like where the difficulty level is at. So the way it works is the following.
My money.
Oh yeah. Dalton, would you like to guess first before?
My guess is that I will win the game.
Okay, so that would be in the case where I play it during my turn.
As you go to draw your 4th card, I am going to draw no cards, and I will win.
Okay, so that's a very logical thing to think, and in fact, that is not how it works.
Oh,
right, because it's well known that, for example, like draw 7 cards means draw 1 card, repeat 7 times, right? So that's the way that the game handles an instruction like draw 7 cards. Is instead of me picking up the top 7 cards of my library and putting them in my hand. That's not actually what happens in the game. What happens is I pick up the first card, put it in my hand. Pick up the first card, put it in my hand, and do for 7 cards. So what's less well known, but very relevant here, is that it is not possible to take 2 draws at the same time, even if those 2 draws are different players. Because there's a rule in the CR that says if you and another person are both instructed to draw cards, then the active player does all of their draws first, and then in turn order, the other players take their draws. So what will actually happen when we resolve emergency powers is I, the active player, am going to do all 7 of my draws, and then after that, Dalton will do all 7 of his draws. So the fact that I have more cards in my library does not screw me over in this case, due to the fact that the emergency powers is going to make us draw our cards in the way that I described just now. So I will win the game, and that is because I played it on my turn. If I were to foolishly play the emergency powers during Dalton's end step in order to play around some counterspells or something, that would not work because Dalton would be the first person to take his draws and he would win the game. So that is something that probably isn't going to come up. But hey, they're both in this set, so maybe in some like limited format, maybe you can like.
They're both standard legal.
Yeah. Both standard legal, both limited legal.
That's my second guess.
That I figured that one of us was probably gonna win. It could be a draw too. The game being a draw is a very, very I would not, if someone guessed that, I would not think that was a bad guess. Yeah. So like that, all 3 of the answers are like very, very viable, and so the fact that it was that specific one. Yep. So okay, that's a pretty cool one, right? Would you agree that was a cool?
I will give that one to you for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So okay, let's.
And it's one of those things that it doesn't come up much.
Yeah.
But when it does, boy, is it important. I think the last time I had one of those was a converted mana cost for Entreat the Angels or something. And someone was trying to counterbalance it, and X was 2. So I want to say, they had theoretically the person thought white X was the miracle cost, And so they were like, oh, CMC is 4. Because white, and 2 makes 4.
Yeah.
And the opponent was about to reveal something off the top. I think they were going to try to put a Jace on.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty tough to counter an Entreat the Angels with counterbalance.
Yeah.
Free mana cost is much higher than most of the legacy cards. I would be really excited to see that happen, actually. To see that
I'll reveal my Phyrexian Dreadnought.
So speaking of revealing cards, here is a Kefnet. And he's making a return in this set too.
One winged boy.
Yeah. So it turns out that he has an ability that lets you reveal a card. So you may reveal the first card that you draw each turn as you draw it. Whenever you reveal an instant or sorcery, copy it. So like,
sure.
I call for a judge. Judge. What's up, David? Well, I drew my card with the Kefnet, and I forgot to reveal.
Oh man!
So, it was obviously like this lightning bolt or something that I was gonna want to cast. So let's cast it now. What do you think? What is the infraction, penalty, and fix appropriate for this situation?
Yeah. So with God Eternal Kefnet, we're looking at a triggered ability here.
Yes.
Or rather, we're looking at an ability that's going to affect and create a triggered ability.
Interesting. Yeah, it's actually kind of interesting.
Yeah. So Kefnet says that you may reveal the first card you draw each turn as you draw it.
Yeah.
It's been put out that this wording here is going to be akin to Miracle.
Okay.
Is you get to see what it is before you draw it.
That would have been a better segue. Maybe I should have used that as the segue instead of...
So David's going to get to look at his card, theoretically here, and say, okay, cool, that's a lightning bolt. Do I want to reveal it? Theoretically. Now David went, sweet lightning bolt, and plopped it right in his hand there.
Okay.
And then calls the judge and says, hey judge, I did a dumb, and I wanted to reveal this lightning bolt because I want to make the copy and I want to cast 2 of them this turn.
I would cast a lightning bolt copy for 1 additional mana.
Yep. So what happened here is David drew the card and put it into his hand. Now, do we have a missed trigger? Well, no, we don't. David is offered the choice to reveal the card, and Kefnet's trigger reads, when you reveal an instant or sorcery this way, copy that and you may cast the copy. Now, because David chose not to reveal it, our triggered condition was never met here. So we can rule out a missed trigger. This is not what we're looking at. Did David commit hidden card error? No, he was entitled to draw the card. It wasn't anything like a mulligan procedure, looking at extra cards, nothing like that. So as we go down our list, we're going to get to game rule violation. We're going to say, did David commit a game rule violation? Look at Kefnet, says you may reveal. So in this case, David drew his card, and by putting it into his hand, David chose not to reveal our card. And we'll play on from there.
Yeah, no infraction, and I probably do not get to copy.
Yes.
Now, I did say probably there. Can you think of a situation where I would be able to get it?
Possibly, if you have 1 card in hand.
Yeah. So if it's the only card in my hand, then it's kind of unclear whether I've drawn it, whether I finished drawing it or I'm still in the process of drawing it. So I would say that like probably if it's the only card in their hand, I would let them get it most of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah. Otherwise, they did not do anything against the rules, and so that means that they did not commit any infractions, and as a result, there is nothing further that we're going to do to fix. So no penalties, of course, and no fix would be appropriate in this case.
Obviously, if David has taken actions, that would be only during a time you could cast a sorcery or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Even if we have only the 1 card in hand, then we are obviously past the point
point
where something like that could happen. So as long as it's possible that we are still in the draw step and we only have that 1 card in hand, then yeah, chances are I'm going to say, we're still in the draw step. It's still at a time where you can choose to reveal this because, well, we haven't gone past it.
All right. So here is another good one.
Okay.
We've got Teferi's Time Twister.
I love this flavor text.
Yes.
The safest place for you is not now.
I like it. So we are going to exile a artifact.
Okay.
All right. It's not important which one. Let's say maybe Relic of Progenitus.
Okay, so not a creature.
Yeah. An artifact that's not a creature.
Sweet.
And we're going to return that creature. Return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
Sweet.
So
sounds good.
After we play the Teferi's Time Twist, we play this other card. So that would be the March of the Machines.
Yep.
And so what do you think? Do we get a +1/+1 counter on this card?
So those of you not familiar, March of the Machines reads, each non-creature artifact is an artifact creature with power and toughness equal to its converted mana cost. So we exile the Relic of Progenitus, which is a 1-mana artifact. So as it enters the battlefield, we're going to look and we're going to see, okay, what is this as it enters? As it comes in, March of the Machines ability will be in effect. So as it enters, it's going to enter and be an artifact creature with power and toughness each equal to 1. Its converted mana cost.
Yep.
Now, the question is, does it enter the battlefield as a creature? It enters the battlefield. When we look at it as a creature, does it enter as one? The answer is yes.
Yes. Yes, it does. So, makes sense, right? Like, it's a creature. It's entering the battlefield as a creature. Okay, so no problem. What if we use this card?
Rusted Relic.
Yeah. So instead of the Relic of Progenitus, we've got a different relic. This one is kind of rusty.
Sure.
So of course, like when it enters the battlefield, there's no March of the Machines in play, but we'll say that there's 2 other artifacts.
Yep.
So obviously that was the number I was gonna randomly just arbitrarily pick. You know, who knows?
Why.
Who knows how many artifacts that they can have.
So we no longer have the March of the Machines out. That one's out of the question here.
Yeah.
Rusted Relic has Metalcraft, and it's a 5/5 golem artifact creature as long as you control 3 or more artifacts.
Yes.
So as it enters the battlefield, do we control 3 or more artifacts?
Sort of.
Sort of. We don't as it enters, or we don't as it's coming down for sure. And then it enters the battlefield. Well, what do?
Yeah,
David?
It's great. So this
help us out?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So this is a question that we had kind of ironically back when KevNet the first was around. So those creatures had an ability that was like, as long as your devotion was like 6 or more or something, like it's not a creature. That was KevNet in them, right? No, that was the other. That was the other gods from like back even farther away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one like the first time I think that I saw this style of a question. So what's going to happen is the following. It's going to enter the battlefield, right? And there's a replacement effect that wants to put a +1/+1 counter on it. So replacement effects that take that key off of a permanent entering the battlefield have a specific set of rules that they follow to determine whether they apply and how they apply. And the way it works is the following. You look at how that permanent would exist on the battlefield when you're determining what replacement effects apply to the event of it entering the battlefield and how those effects apply. So with this being the case, let's see how that applies to Rusted Relic. When it's entering the battlefield, so before it has physically entered the battlefield, the game is like, hey, are you a creature? And you are allowed to take continuous effects that are going to modify its characteristics into account. That's the reason, for example, in the previous question, the March of the Machines, the game knew that March of the Machines was going to be applying to Relic of Progenitus, and as a result, Relic of Progenitus was entering the battlefield as a creature, so the replacement effect did apply to it. So a similar thing will happen here. The game can look at this Rusted Relic's Metalcraft ability, even though the Rusted Relic's Metalcraft ability is not yet doing anything yet, because Rusted Relic has not yet entered the battlefield. So it's looking good so far. Right? We haven't said anything that means no, you can't get it. But here's where the wheels kind of fall off of that
so
little.
We're gonna say no.
Yeah, we don't get a counter. Spoiler, maybe some small spoilers from here.
He said
do
spoiler
not get
free.
a counter. We do not get a counter, and this is the reason why. Because when the game is determining how this replacement effect applies, it looks at the Rusted Relic's continuous effect. And it's like, okay, it's a 5/5 creature as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. Oh, it looks like he only has 2 artifacts. Because at the time the replacement effect is trying to apply, there's only 2, and the Rusted Relic is not yet on the battlefield. So one more over to the right. And so that is the reason why you do not get the additional +1/+1 counter in this instance.
Awesome. So that's pretty intense. That's a lot of information.
Well, no, it's really sweet, and that's not even the really spicy Teferi's Time Twist card. We're not going to talk about this one yet because I have to do like a little bit more research But like, if you want to wet your whistle for when I publish the new set digest article,
okay,
you guys can use your imagination on this one.
Oh god. Okay.
But it might involve this card here. So if you want to know how this card works with Teferi's Time Twist, go ahead and be sure you read the new set digest article when
I
it
don't
comes
think
out.
I've ever noticed that Phyrexian Metamorph has 2 artists.
Yeah, actually, those two collaborate a lot. Let's see, who is this? Actually, those are not the two that you usually see on those. Usually it's Zoltan Boris and Gebers Vixve collaborate a lot on their digital pieces. Johan Voss, I don't know if I've ever seen any artist collabs with that artist before, other than this one, of course.
I mean, they did real well, so.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a great art.
How can you live up to that one?
Yeah.
Cool.
So, okay, that was a really sweet question. Like I said, that one is like even more like, if you thought that one was hard, then
Yep.
you know, don't miss this next one here. Okay.
Very proud of you.
Oh yeah. Okay, here's a kind of interesting one. Maybe not as spicy as that one, but look at that. Look at me spelling this card's name perhaps accurately. Okay, great. So okay, we've got the Price of Betrayal.
Okay.
And you know, our friend Gideon, we're gonna make him pay the ultimate price. Right? He's getting betrayed. Did that happen in the story? Liliana betraying Gideon? Who knows? Because there's no spoiler. I actually don't know because I don't follow the Magic storyline at all. There's like some, you know, the only thing I know about the storyline is the stuff that I could like piece together from like what the names of the cards are and what's going on in the art.
Allow me to read the flavor text the moment Liliana defied Nicol Bolas.
Yeah, well, that's who Liliana's betraying, I guess. She's not betraying Gideon.
That you know of.
Well, not in this card anyway.
Okay, so remove up to 5 counters from target artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent.
Okay.
Cool, got it.
So here's our Gideon Blackblade.
Sure.
He has 25 loyalty counters on him, so we can't kill him.
Wow.
Okay, maybe even Gideon can't be that low. Maybe he has 10. 10 is a nice round number.
10's reasonable.
Okay, so we have 10 loyalty counters, so we know we can't kill him, and like not even close. But he does have some +1/+1 counters on him. You know, maybe they Teferi Time Twisted him.
Okay.
That would actually be kind of difficult to put +1/+1 counters on him with Teferi's Time Twist. You'd probably need multiple other cards in order to make that one a reality. But
as long as it's your turn.
But yeah, you know, so like you got a +1/+1 counter on Gideon. Can we remove the +1/+1 counter and what four loyalty counters?
So
with the Price of Betrayal.
Yeah. So Price of Betrayal, as I read earlier, reads.
We'll bring it back up for y'all.
Yes. Remove up to 5 counters from target artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent.
Yes.
So we got a target. It says, you know, we're choosing. I don't know. Do you want to choose creature or planeswalker?
So that's an interesting one, and that's coming up later, by the way. So don't spoil that.
Okay.
That question is coming up later for Price of Betrayal. No, like the.
Which are we choosing?
The target of Price of Betrayal is Gideon Blackblade.
Okay. Fine. Gideon Blackblade. Leave him in suspense.
Yeah. Well, no. It's suspense because we're using that point in another question that we're going to ask later.
All right. So move up to 5 counters. So we're looking, and we'll choose Gideon. So 5 counters, right? Cool. Awesome. Well, does it say which counters? No. Does it say 5 counters of the same type? No. So why not remove a +1/+1 counter and 4?
Yep,
4
no
loyalty?
problem. No problem at all. All right, so that was pretty like straightforward, right? You know, no real issues, nothing too difficult there. Okay, what if we had this card?
You know, what I'm really curious about is Price of Betrayal allows you to remove counters from an opponent.
Yeah.
And I want to know what's coming up next in Standard.
Well, you know, they probably did that actually, like for back thing. Like maybe Energy's coming back. Wizard's favorite mechanic, Energy. This is a card that we kind of wish we had in Standard a while back. But okay, so we've got the steady progress, right? We're gonna proliferate and we're gonna choose the Gideon. Can we give Gideon another loyalty counter and another +1/+1 counter?
So Steady Progress is a proliferate spell.
Yeah.
And so we've seen proliferate before, obviously.
That's the proliferate. That's how I found that card.
Proliferate became a little bit different.
What's the new one called?
The
Steady Progress, but it's
Courage and Crisis works.
No, we're using the same. Keep talking.
Okay.
I'll look up what the other one's
called.
So
we received a little bit of a tweak to the proliferate ability in War of the Spark. And that little tweak was that with War of the Spark, if you chose a permanent or a player, you had to double all counters. Add, yes, sorry. You had to add a counter of all types already there.
No, that's the new one.
That's what I said.
Okay.
That's the new one.
Yeah.
So you had to choose whichever permanent it was, and then regardless of which one, if it was a poison counter, -1 counter, loyalty counter, feather counter, you had to choose whether or not you're going to add one of all of those.
Yeah, that's the old way that it used to work.
Steady Progress, you got to choose. I could say, oh, well, this thing has a -1 counter. I don't want to double that, or I don't want to add one of those. This thing has a feather counter. I don't need to do that. This thing has a
loyalty counter.
Counter.
Oh, yeah, those are good. We'll put more of those. Yeah, no problem.
So that's how Steady Progress used to work.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Yeah. So now we have this. Now we have this instead. So you choose any number of permanents, like for example, Gideon or players, and give another counter of each kind already there. So in this case, it's definitely possible to put both on, and it's also not possible to only put one on. So if for example we had the loyalty counters and the -1/-1 counters like Dalton alluded to earlier, it's not possible for us to pick and choose. Well, like we want the more loyalty, but we don't want the more -1/-1s. This one it's an all or nothing kind of proposition. So unfortunate in some cases, but fortunate in others. So yeah, the way and that of course does affect all older cards that have the word proliferate written on them, such as Steady Progress. So that is a change in the comprehensive rules definition of proliferate. So okay, now I did promise you one. You may be feeling a little betrayed.
Oh. Okay.
So okay, we had the price of betrayal before, right? And I promised you a special, super sweet, awesome question
You always do.
So okay. We're back to price of betrayal on this Gideon, right? And I've got my old friend. I've got my old friend Spellskite and Gideon's friend too. He's about to be Gideon's friend because you know what? I want my Spellskite to take the bullet for Gideon. Maybe you could betray Spellskite instead of him. Would that be okay? And of course you're like, no, I want to target Gideon. So wait a minute.
But David, you can always redirect with Spellskite.
Well, it's not legal to change the target sometimes. So that would be. So let's examine that. Dave, when I was targeting Gideon, I targeted a Planeswalker. I want to target him. I want to choose the target of the spell as target Planeswalker, and I'm choosing Gideon. So of course, that being the case, Spellskite's not a Planeswalker. It's like you can't change the target. So who's right? Do I get to save my Gideon from betrayal with my Spellskite or not?
So I am gonna work through this one because I don't know the answer.
Yeah, and that's why this is a really sweet question. I thought of this literally. I thought of this as you were asking that. I was like, hey, that's actually a really interesting point, Dalton.
So what I'm thinking here, and bear with me here, Twitch chat.
Yeah, sure thing. I'm going to look up the name of another card from the new set because I'm going to use it in my explanation here.
So what my thought here is that you are able to change to Spellskite, regardless of if they chose creature or planeswalker. And my thought process here is that when we are picking something with Price of Betrayal, we have to choose a legal target. Price of Betrayal, though you are allowed to choose multiple different types of targets, artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent, they all fall under the one target word. This is not a modal spell. So your target must be a legal target from the choices you are given. Whereas if we try to redirect this with Spellskite, we see that, is this a legal target? Is Spellskite an artifact, a creature, a planeswalker, or an opponent? If we look at it and we see, well, it's an artifact and a creature, great, it meets these requirements, then it is a legal target and can be successfully redirected.
Yes, and that is correct. So Price of Betrayal has one target, and the target is a artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent. So as long as you're changing the target of Price of Betrayal to something that is also an artifact, creature, planeswalker, or opponent, it doesn't matter what the original one was. Now that's in contrast with something like Casualties of War, which, as Dalton says, is a modal spell. With this, if I were to destroy Gideon, it would be very relevant to the game, like whether I'm destroying target planeswalker or destroying target creature. Because with this card, I guess it's not really possible for you to play a sorcery and have Gideon be a planeswalker and a creature. And it's indestructible anyway. But in any case, if you were to play a Casualties of War targeting a land creature, for example, then you would have to specify whether the land creature was the target land or the target creature. Because otherwise, your Spellskite would be able to take the hit if it was the creature, but it would not be able to take the hit for target land. And that's another interesting question, Dalton, or both. Is it even legal? What if I had my Casualties of War, and I'm going to destroy target artifact, that's your Spellskite, and then I'm going to destroy target creature, that's your desirable creature like a Gristlebrand or something, and you're like, hey Spellskite, do you want to take the hit on the creature one also? So is that legal?
Yeah. So because we have multiple instances of the word target, we are capable of choosing the same permanent or object for that target.
Yes.
So as long as it meets the requirements.
Yes.
So because Spellskite is an artifact, we can say, great, we'll
use the artifact.
You already
target.
chose that. Great, good job. But we look at creature and we say, oh no, I want my Gristlebrand, so I'm gonna redirect that to Spellskite. Is it still legal? Well, is Spellskite a creature?
Sure is.
Assuming then it's a legal target.
Yeah.
And then it will also take that bullet.
If you could find some way to make the Spellskite an enchantment, you could save your enchantment in your land.
Now, as we resolve our spells, we go top down. So the game's going to look and it's going to say, okay, destroy target artifact. Spellskite. Done. Got it.
Yeah,
Next,
out.
we're going to destroy target creature.
There isn't one.
We chose Spellskite. Now, initially I chose Gristlebrand. Are we just going to go destroy that one?
No, man.
No.
Because we targeted.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have targeted. We have locked in that choice after, the redirecting.
Yeah.
So because we've locked in that choice, the game's not going to say, oh, well, we're going to veer back to that one because it's legal again.
That's right. Now, if this said destroy an artifact, destroy a creature, or choose a creature, choose an artifact, choose a thing, and then destroy all the things you chose, those are some ways that they could word this card in such a way that, if we destroy the Spellskite, then, if the Spellskite goes away sometime between now and when we're going to destroy the creature, then, we get to pick a different one.
Of course.
The way it's worded here, of course, you don't get to do that. The Spellskite is the target artifact, then it doesn't matter if he's also the target creature, because we lock in the targets when the spell is cast, and, we can change them, but when the spell starts to resolve, that's what the targets are. So you don't get to rechange if the targets are a little bit less likely than what you wanted for.
Awesome.
So that's good. That's good.
Oh, Spellskite, you always create.
We always find
so
something for you. We always find something with the Spellskite. All right, I think we have one more question. Did you have any interesting questions that you wanted to ask?
Honestly, so in my experience with War so far, I actually haven't come up with that many, which has been fun. But if I can pick off your list.
Oh yeah, you can find
sweet.
one. That's fine. I had one that I was gonna think about, but I put the interesting ones up towards the top, so that's why we already talked about the ones that I was the most excited about.
Sure.
So yeah, if you want to talk
the one I like
about
here, and it's one of the cards I had in my pre-release pool.
Yeah.
Was Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi. It's a pretty sweet card. It's an instant.
Yeah.
Which is
for some reason
absurd. I wasn't upset with that because just casually turn 5. I'm like, okay, your end step.
Yeah, turn 6 probably, right?
Oh no, it's turn 5.
End step. Okay.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden I have a 9/9.
Yeah.
I also had what was it? Vivian in my pool.
Ooh.
And I could give it reach and vigilance.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. So anyways, Awakening of Vitu-Ghazi. Put 9+1/+1 counter on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature with haste named Vitu-Ghazi. It's still a land. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to put 9+1/+1 counters on this land. That's sweet.
Cool.
Now, what's a good land to put? Creeping Tar Pit. I think that'd be a really good land to put it on.
Good point, Dalton. Mutavault.
Oh.
There's a reason we're picking Mutavault. Just bear with me for a while here.
Okay, I'll trust you. So
she's not. I forgot to copy the name of the other one because we're gonna want to like go back to the like Awakening of Vidu-Ghazi.
Oh, okay.
But that's what Mutavault is, guys. That's what it looks like. If you've never seen that card before, it's a man land.
Yeah. So I'm swinging in. I have my Mutavault. My opponent is at 11.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm gonna swing in no blockers. They're tapped out. It's great. So I'm gonna swing with my Mutavault, and then I'm gonna cast Awakening of Vidu-Ghazi. I'm gonna put 9+1/+1 counters on that Mutavault. I'm super excited.
Yep.
Do I kill him? Do I get it? I don't know, David. Do I?
Depends. So let's make sure I'm understanding what's the situation is first. You attack with the Mutavault.
Activated Mutavault, and I have swung with it.
Okay, so you're attacking with Mutavault, and then they say no blocks, and then you say Awakening the Vidu-Ghazi.
Yep.
Mutavault. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going on here. We have Mutavault's effect that makes it a 2/2 creature, and then we have Awakening of the Vidu-Ghazi's effect that makes it a 0/0 creature. And that being the case, those continuous effects are going to apply in timestamp order. So it's going to become a 2/2 first, and then it's going to become a 0/0. And then after that, then the continuous effects that affect its power and toughness due to counters are going to apply. So it would be a 9/9, but not a 11/11. So the correct way to do this would be, or maybe you have like more mana, like just floating around. You're made out of mana. You could activate the Mutavault again, which would be beneficial to you because then you would have a later timestamp on the ability that makes it a 2/2, which would mean that ability is going to win and apply last, and then it would in fact be an 11/11 creature.
Yep. And then when we move to the end step, what are we gonna end up with?
Ooh, great question. So once the Mutavault's continuous effect wears away, the 0/0 still is going to be applying to Mutavault because that does not have a duration that ends at the end of turn. So it will be a 9/9 once the Mutavault becomes a 2/2 ability ends.
Awesome. So
pretty cool.
Awakening of Vidu-Ghazi, pretty sweet spell. Don't play it into their Wonder Strike.
Ooh.
Not exciting.
Yeah,
then you just like wasteland yourself and lose your bomb. So
worse.
Yeah, I recommend playing it in a blue deck with counter spells.
Yeah. Or like end stepping it.
Do you?
So the Mutavault has all creature types also, which means that it will be an elemental at all times. And it will always be a creature, of course, because those effects don't end at the end of turn. But if you activate the Mutavault again, it will get all its creature types back.
However, is it Mutavault anymore?
So the name will always be Vidu-Ghazi. In fact, Mutavault does not change its name when it animates, and that's kind of an interesting one. This one I believe they also had to make new rules for. So this is a text changing effect, which is actually kind of exciting because if you think about it, like if you copy a Mutavault that is like awakened, what's its name? What would its name be?
Its name is Vidu-Ghazi.
Yeah. So well, like that would make sense, except it's a copy effect.
Right.
And copy effects apply. They don't take into account other continuous effects that are acting on it. So like just like how you would get an unanimated Mutavault, you don't copy the text changing effect that makes its name Vidu-Ghazi, I believe.
How lame.
Yeah, I know, right? But that's actually good because like it'd still be legendary. So like you would want the names to be different.
I see.
So yeah, that's they were thinking about that one probably.
Yes,
they were probably thinking about that. So that's kind of cool.
Multiple awakenings in your pool.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking more like
if
you had like the Thespian stage. If you had Thespian stage and you wanted to copy the Mutavault thing, that could be a little awkward.
That's Eve.
So yeah, that was all the stuff that we had. We actually have way more stuff than that, but that's all the time we have for today.
So David, where could they find all of that other stuff?
Why, I thought you'd never ask. If you go to blogs.magicjudges.org/FTW, the link will be in the description below. I do have a whole article about all of these types of things coming out this week, and it is going to be awesome and exciting and so fun, and I hope everybody reads that article and gets a lot out of it.
Awesome.
So, yep, new set digest. Do them every set, and they're great.
So I think that's all we have for tonight. Definitely check that out.
Yep, sure thing.
But
Till then, have a great time. This is Dave Eldon, Dalton Grimes signing out. Have a great evening, everyone.